So thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you today. I wanted to talk to you about the CI Campus Fellowship Program, which is geared towards undergraduate students. And I'm hoping that we form connections with you guys to help recruit faculty on campuses and also undergraduate students to our program. My name is Eva Dielman. I'm a research professor in computer science at the University of Southern California, and I'm the PI on CI Campus. CI Campus is funded by the National Science Foundation. It is a cyber infrastructure center of excellence. We went through the pilot phase, just like you guys, and we've been funded as a full center last year. We provide expertise and active support to cyber infrastructure practitioners at the NSF major facilities, and in order to accelerate the data lifecycle. So we look at technical issues, but also we build a community around cyber infrastructure, and we include students in our work. Just to briefly mention the NSF major facilities, these are the big instruments and facilities that NSF is making available for research and engineering research in the US. So it provides very diverse and highly heterogeneous data and capabilities to the scientists and engineers and educators. All these instruments differ in the data that they capture, the instruments that they use, the type of analysis that they do, but they all have in common a very complex cyber infrastructure that allows scientists to access the data, visualize it, disseminate it, and derive knowledge from it. So briefly, just to mention the data lifecycle, so you know what I'm talking about. So we look at the data lifecycle within a major facility, so these large-scale projects, and we look at it from data capture to some initial processing close to where the data is collected, central processing at the main data center, and then looking at storage and curation, and finally dissemination and visualization of the data and dissemination to the scientists, to the educators, and the public. We also look at cross-cutting elements of data movement, fair data, and identity management. So the activities that we have within CI Campus, we're focusing primarily on engagement with major facilities, discussions within topical working groups. So we talk about issues of cloud computing for science. We talk about identity management, fair data. We also conduct workshops general workshops, which look at the general cyber infrastructure within the major facilities, but also topical workshops on cloud computing, for example. We have a student program, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And we also have outreach activities, webinars, and we do surveys and reports. So the cyber infrastructure, the CI Campus cyber infrastructure program for students is geared towards undergraduate students at various universities. We piloted the program in the spring of 2022, and we had students from USC and also Notre Dame. But this year, we want to expand the program to other universities. And we hope that talking to facilities such as yourself and projects such as yourself, that you can help us disseminate this information on your campuses. The goal of this program is to broaden the knowledge about cyber infrastructure and to the students, and really build the pipeline from this undergraduate students to people that are participating actively in research engineering in the CI fields. So
college, this is Frank.
So the undergraduate students learn about the cyber infrastructure in general and also within the major facilities. They develop skills that are important for work in major facilities and cyber infrastructure in general. And they engage with us and also with major facilities personnel through a program that's virtual in the spring, and then hopefully a mix of virtual or in person in the summer. So the structure, we have three components of the program. We have, as in the spring, we have a virtual program where we teach the students technical skills. So we talk to them about Python, Jupyter notebooks, containers, how to build containers, virtual machines, and so forth. As part of the spring program, we also teach them research skills. So they have a mix of hands-on and research as well, where they learn about the major facilities, the data lifecycle, and for them to understand what are the issues that the major facilities deal with. The students do some research during that time, and then we have presentations at the end of the spring. the important part here is that students can get credit on their own campus for that program. And at USC, we're able to do that, but we want to see if we can generalize it to other campuses as well. And if it's not feasible, then students can audit the program as well. And then in the summertime, we have internships for students. So this year we had an internship at CI Campus where students participated in a project-based learning experience. And we hope to expand this in the next years to have training programs
in Black neighborhoods
at major facilities. So why am I talking to you? So we are in the process of recruiting faculty mentors that will help us recruit students in this fall semester. So distribute the announcements from our program to the undergraduate students in the departments and schools. And then in the springtime, what we want to do is we want to provide students with credit or auditing options. So we want to talk to the faculty on campuses and see what is possible on the campus. And for the mentors, we hope that they can mentee the students within the institutions, or we'll do the instructions remotely for them. So there's no instructions that's involved on the faculty side. We would like to hold meetings with the faculty mentors to get feedback on the program. And also we want to be able to present research about the data lifecycle and related areas. So we are working with NSF to get funding for the faculty mentors. We expect that the stipends will be around $2,000, but this is pending funding. So I'm happy to take questions. If you want to talk to us, we have, please contact us at contact@cicampus.org. I'm putting a lot of links here, and I'm happy to make my presentation available afterwards, where you can look into CI Campus, our student fellowship program. We have a new story about the spring semester, and we have ways of us to connect with us online. So I'm happy to take questions from folks. I know it's kind of really quick. I'm just trying to stay within the time allowed. But I would be very interested to see if there's some interest from your communities or campuses to be engaged with us, to work on this program, to make it available to your students. And really, I think the big kind of benefit of this program is that it exposes students to these really incredible projects and scientific endeavors funded by NSF, where they can see what the impact of cyber infrastructure is on science, and they can meet the people that work day to day in these areas. I'm happy to take questions.
This is Dr. Jeter. I was just wondering, when does the application process opens up to apply for the summer internships?
So for the students, we will open up in, I believe, October, November, but we want to first recruit faculty on campuses. So I think the important part is that we want the students, or at least we think that's a good way to go. We want the students to be able to get credit at the home institution for the work that they're doing. So in the springtime. So we're looking for faculty to enable that. However, if students come to us without the faculty mentor, then we can have just an audit option for the students if they want to participate in this program. Okay. And for the faculty mentors, the recruitment is open. We are rolling out a program. We are still waiting for NSF for the funding information for the faculty mentors, and then everything will be on our website.
Eva, sorry to pop in, but I think we're going to try to open the student applications mid-September.
Oh, okay, sorry. So
no problem.
Nicole Verdun is the project manager on CI Campus, and she knows these details much better than I. So thank you, Nicole, for coming in.
Thank you both.
And I put all the contact info in the chat, so please reach out with any questions. We'll be happy to answer them if they come later. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're also going to post the slides in the MSCC Slack channel. So please be on the lookout for that. And also, as we get more information about the applications and requirements, we'll also post that there in the Slack channel. So this is something I would like for us to maintain our attention on, because it is an amazing opportunity both for faculty and students. So we're definitely going to be pushing just that communication through our Slack channel. So if there's questions, feel free to reach out to me there, or the MSCC there, or also you can email me about this anytime and I can put you in touch with the right people from CI Compass.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
You're absolutely welcome, and thank you for taking the time. I know you were on vacation, so I apologize for taking you away from your vacation.
No, this program is actually very important to me, and the partnership with you guys is very valuable. And so I'm more than happy to make the time anytime that I can. Thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome.
I see Richard. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Raise hand.
Yeah. Hi. I'm sorry I came in late, but have you already worked with any campuses? I missed that. You probably already talked about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so this year we've piloted the program within the partners at CI Compass, so USC and University of Notre Dame, and we had the spring session for the students, and we just completed the summer projects within CI Compass. But we're looking now, so with that background and foundation, we're looking to expand. So the first year, we really wanted to understand what the various mechanics, what was, how to approach the students, do this initial recruitment. So now I think we're in a strong position to make this offers to more broadly to other campuses. So
let me
yes.
share something with you. This is very, very similar to something that we're doing, Georgia Tech and also Duke. We call it, and they also call it the BS Plus program.
Okay.
Where, well, in our program, we competitively select students to take an additional course per semester, and we progress over 3 semesters. It's all wrapped around big data. It's all wrapped around starting out, learning the AI tools, and it's project activated, societal problems. That we competitively select them. We pay them a stipend and we pay their tuition to take this extra course per semester. And we build them up so that probably about the 3rd semester, they're actually hands-on on data, but they do start with the project that they want to model. And it's not necessarily young people that are STEM curriculum ready. They could come from non-STEM areas, like we've had people from the humanities. It's a very, very good way of broadening participation on traditional students. So I'd like to hear more about your program, and I see that you put a link in. You put a link in chat.
Yes. So Nicole, can you please redo the links, and also can you please put my direct email, Nicole, so that people can also feel free to just.
Is that contact at CI
Compass? Yes, but
Compass.
that's the main email. It will go to myself and Nicole. But if you want to contact me directly, Nicole is also going to put my direct email.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your feedback, and I'd love to hear more about the program. And you raised the issue of having a non-computer science or non-tech.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think we need to grow into it. So.
And I can share some. We're having some wonderful experiences with that. Actually, students with not a calculus background, not even calculus 1, right? Because it really is about discrete mathematics. And it is a way of getting young people engaged that are not traditionally STEM curriculum ready. So yeah, very, very good. I will contact you. Okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And, the other thing I want to mention is that the students that, work within these facilities, there also can be also domain science students, right? So if we branch out, then ecologists can join the summer programs.
Exactly.
On the, so there's a lot of opportunity. So I very much look forward to our
Yeah.
continued
And
discussion.
we do use mentors also, just like you're talking about.
Oh, okay, great.
Uh-huh.
I think we have a lot to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Unfortunately, I have to drop off, but it was great talking with you and meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Bye.
Our next presentation for today comes from Mr. Bob Flynn, and he's going to talk a little bit about Cloud Forum. And then at the conclusion of his discussion, we're going to have some MSCC updates. Bob, I've been looking for you. There you are. Are you ready?
We are ready. Thank you. Thanks everybody for having us. I'm going to share my screen here. Just make sure I have the right thing to share. And I'll introduce my two guests, and we will tell me if you see that in the slideshow view there. Is that working out? All right. Thank you, Emily. All right. So my name's Bob Flynn. I manage cloud platform and infrastructure services at Internet2, and I have with me two guests. First up will be Sarah Kristen from Cornell University, and then John Bailey from Washington University in St. Louis. And we're here to talk to you about the Higher Education Cloud Forum. So I'm going to drive the slides. So Sarah, just tell me when you'd like me to advance.
Thank you, Bob. Hi, I'm Sarah Kristen from Cornell University. I'm the Director of Infrastructure there. And I started the Cloud Forum in 2014 because I was asked to look at pulling together a cloud strategy for Cornell at the time. And as I started talking to other schools, I found that a lot of us were on this path to cloud, but there was no real established community to work with. And it felt like we were all sort of reinventing the wheel over and over again. So in 2015, I hosted the first Cloud Forum at Cornell. And more than just an annual event, it was the beginning of the higher education cloud community. Next slide. So the format and progression of the Cloud Forum, that first year when I decided I wanted to pull together a group of people just have a conversation about cloud, I knew that I couldn't do it alone. So I reached out to other institutions and asked for volunteers to help me with planning. And that was back in 2015, and a lot of the people who volunteered that first year are still part of the planning committee. It's been a fantastic group who really works to sort of involve all aspects of the community. We try to help sort of try to bring in different perspectives on cloud computing and really get the full picture so that there's a lot of active participation and that sort of thing. But the planning committee has been a huge part of that. We came up with some guiding principles that very first year. One was that we wanted to have as many institutions as possible at the event, and so we reached out broadly, but we only allowed 3 participants from any institution. So we wanted to avoid 15 people from one institution so that we could really have as many people from different institutions as possible. We also wanted to make sure there were no vendor sales pitches. So we had a lot of conversations about whether we even wanted to have vendors participate in the conversations. And what we decided is, wouldn't it be great if we could have some of the big cloud platform vendors there, but to really learn from us rather than learn about higher education and cloud and what our needs are, rather than them trying to tell us why we should use their platform. So what we landed on as an approach was that vendors are allowed to come. Each vendor can send 2 people, but they're not allowed to present at all. And really, when we have discussions, we ask them to listen. What we do allow them to do is to select somebody from an institution who's doing something really interesting on their platform. So a research project or something along those lines. And so then we have one presentation from each of the large cloud platforms at each of the events. And we get to learn a lot about about their research. So then just the format is we have case studies. So these are 30 or 60-minute discussions about institutions who have implemented something. Maybe they've had great success, or maybe they had a huge failure, but how can we as a community learn from it? We also try to have some panel discussions. Some examples of panel discussions we've had in the past are things like how to use application streaming in classrooms, so like virtual classroom labs. We've also had conversations about how to help your staff sort of transition to this sort of cloud mentality. And so, you know, panel discussions that everybody can participate in, that sort of thing. We also have lightning rounds. So we've had 2 one-hour lightning rounds where we have 10 5-minute sessions in a row. So it's very fast, it's very chaotic, but it's an opportunity for everybody to participate and an opportunity to learn a lot, like sort of a little bit about a lot of things in a very short period of time. So those are always fun. We don't allow questions during those, but there are always sessions that sort of result in conversations over dinner and that sort of thing later on. And then, as I mentioned, we have our research. This is sort of our focus on the mission. So this is an opportunity for us to learn about research that's happening in the cloud. And those are selected by the vendors. Next slide. During the pandemic in 2020, we were forced to take the forum remote due to the pandemic. And so what we did was scheduled these 90-minute sessions once a month. And we had, you know, started planning for an in-person cloud forum. And so we basically just took all the session proposals and put them into this format. So we would have some themes around these 90-minute sessions. So it might be a panel and two case studies, or it might be a lightning round and 3 panels. So there was, you know, we would mix and match. But what we learned from that is that we were able to reach a much larger audience by making it be remote like that. And we really liked the idea of having a much more diverse, broader population being able to be involved. So that was a really good thing. But we also missed the very sort of intimate conversations that we would have around the table at the in-person event. So in 2021, we went to a hybrid. We had a back to in-person events, but we had some aspects that were virtual. And so we identified sessions that we thought would be good for more broad attendance, and we opened those up. So there were some sessions that were just in person, and then there were some sessions that were in person and remote. And so that worked pretty well. And I think we'll probably continue that going forward. Next slide. So now this is in 2021, we had the 7th annual Cloud Forum at Cornell. And after 7 years, I just knew that there was opportunity for growth and new ideas in the Cloud Forum. And so I've passed the event on to Internet 2. And they have some great ideas. A lot of the planning committee has stayed the same. And so I think many of things will stay the same, things such as it will continue to be hosted at an institution. We had conversation at the last Cloud Forum about what was important to people. And this was one of the things that people felt pretty strongly about. The event will always be planned and organized by the community. So we'll continue to have community representation, making sure that what the content that we have in the Cloud Forum continues to be driven by the community. And there will continue to be a focus on higher education with no vendor sales pitches. And then when I started thinking about new opportunities, I think there's endless potential. I can think of lots of things, and I'm starting to see some exciting ideas starting to percolate already. So I'm really excited about the future of the Cloud Forum. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. So we're going to hand it off to this year's host, John Bailey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having us on your all hands call today. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is John Bailey. I'm an assistant director for cloud systems here at Washington University in St. Louis, and just wanted to start off with a little bit of information about WashU if you're not familiar with us. We're a private research university in St. Louis, obviously, founded in about 1853 or in 1853. And as you can see, we're a moderately sized institution. You might be surprised to see that we have almost as many staff as students, and that is because we have a very large medical school and medical campus with a wide range of clinical practices. So when you count up all of the the doctors and nurses and other clinical staff. It's quite a large number of employees. Students at WashU come from more than 100 countries in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And WashU aims to be a diverse community that's fully committed to the principles of equity, fairness, and inclusion and access. This is actually part of the university's core mission. If you happen to want to take a moment to look at the strategic plan, you'll see that this is at the center of it. So thank you very much for having us. Next slide, please, Bob. So just wanted to share a little bit of a historical perspective. So this is a kind of a personal story about my own experience with the Cloud Forum. So I first heard about the Cloud Forum as I was just stepping into a new role focusing on cloud computing here at our university. And his name's Ed Welker. He had attended. He had attended the previous year, and he said, I just felt that this was, really valuable. There was so much good information shared. I discovered that we aren't as far behind as I thought we were with our peer institutions, and we should continue to be involved in this. So the following year, I attended. Just as an attendee. So my first year at the Cloud Forum, I just was there listening, learning, making some new contacts, and really found that my colleagues' perspective was spot on. I just couldn't believe how much useful information I was able to bring back from that. So the following year, I attended as a presenter, and so kind of took the opportunity to kind of give back and share as I again, but kind of before our participation, we sort of thought that we were an outlier. The Cloud Forum really helped us understand that we weren't an outlier. We were struggling with a lot of the same things that other institutions were struggling with, both small and large. And even though there were some universities who were at sort of different areas, points along their cloud adoption journey, that we could learn a lot from them, and that there were institutions that could learn from us as well. So attended as a presenter, and then I think it was the next year that I actually joined the planning committee as that WashU colleague that I mentioned previously. He's actually stepped into a role as interim CIO, and he needed to kind of offload some of his work. And he had been on the planning committee previously and asked if I would step into the planning committee, which is, I'm very glad that I was able to do that. It's one of the neatest opportunities I've had in my career. Next slide, please. So what has WashU kind of really gained from the Cloud Forum? And as I thought about this, it's so much, but the highlights are here on the slide. One is new contacts at other universities that can provide key insights. So now, having been to the Cloud Forum, having had involvement for some years, we have conduits and contacts at universities across the nation and indeed across the world that we can reach out to readily when we're dealing with new cloud computing challenges. And we can almost immediately find, people that we already know, that are dealing with these efforts. And that's such an incredible resource that we didn't have before the Cloud Forum. It's given us an opportunity to learn from the missteps of others that have, graciously blazed cloud trails, identified problems and pitfalls that we can avoid. And then also it's, we've given back to you. Sometimes when we present, we say, hey, here are things that didn't work so well for us, and kind of help the community avoid those. Certainly, this is a very active community. As Sarah mentioned, it's really not just the conference. The conference is sort of like this event that is at the center of a whole galaxy that is this very active and engaged community that's willing to help, willing to share information, willing to present, willing to meet one-on-one. And so being a part of that community is just incredibly valuable. And then really, there's the practical knowledge, right? So both interesting technical tidbits about how to deal with, some strange technical barrier in Google Cloud, for example, or strategies that are more leadership focused around, well, how do you develop cloud skill sets, and how do you manage cloud teams and those sorts of things? So it just really, I don't feel that I can overstate the value that this has brought to us, which brings me to why we wanted to step in and host. So what motivated us here? we just felt like we had gained so many valuable insights that we as an institution were really heavily invested in the Cloud Forum's continued success. We very much understand, Cornell had poured a lot of resources into this, and I think it's quite reasonable for them to begin leaning a bit on this community that they had helped to develop to kind of help this continue to live on and grow. So we were invested in that. Another, just from a practical standpoint, Cornell, that had been hosting this, has some on-site conference facilities that were really great for the event. And WashU has some really similar facilities on our campus. So that got me thinking, well, I should look into this and see if we could, perhaps be the first university to have the torch passed to us. So we want to demonstrate to the higher ed community that the conference can succeed. So what's something that is very new, right? There's a lot of the community holds this event in very high esteem because it's been so valuable over the years. And so we wanted not only to continue it, but to show that with this new thing of it moving to other universities, that it can continue to be just as valuable. And then, of course, it will be an honor to host distinguished attendees. So, over the years, it's just really great to say, well, we've had representatives from all of these dozens of schools, large and small, across the university, across the nation and world here on our campus. So that was, another motivating factor that WashU wanted to welcome that diverse community to our campus. I think, is that my last slide? Yep. So I think, thanks for letting me tell you a little bit about what motivated us to host, and if some of you are able to make it, we'll look forward to seeing you on our campus.
All right, thanks, John. Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to jump in now, and I'll start out with a little bit of who I am. So I came for many years at Indiana University, and in 2014, I was given had the cloud target put on my back, like go figure out cloud. I saw the Cloud Forum as a lifeline. Sarah was, reached out to the community, as she said, and it was just what I needed to start making contacts to learn from others and figure out what was going on. So I volunteered from the get-go, have been helping Sarah along the way since then. And when I moved to Internet 2 last year, after my years at Indiana, it was at just the right time to lead that discussion on moving the Cloud Forum to at least support my Internet 2. And what that allows us to do is to make it mobile across the country to other schools. So let's see if I can talk and advance slides at the same time. So you've heard from Sarah at Cornell and John at WashU. Those are both big schools, but really the Cloud Forum's a leveler, right? So large school or small school, you can't send more than a couple of people. We try, I think one year we had probably our high water mark. And so you understand the Cloud Forum when it was at Cornell literally is held in one room. I think the seating capacity, if we stay out of trouble with the fire marshal, is right around 90. I think one year we had 53 schools represented, as well as the 3 cloud vendors. So we really try and spread that value and benefit across as many institutions as possible. It makes for a very intimate conversation. We have had presenters break out in song before, the kind of thing that you got to be relatively comfortable in your surroundings to do. At least I would have to be. So we really have this concept of the more schools involved, the more progress for higher ed cloud. Now, when you see somebody like John, I'm going to pick on John for a minute. John's director of cloud, and he's, how is this going to help me develop my cloud team? And I know a number of your institutions, you're lucky if you've got like a quarter of a person's time thinking about cloud. So this concept of a cloud team might be a stretch. But one thing we all have in common is the need to see what's the path forward, whether that's supporting your researchers, or getting cloud into the classroom, or getting those first few apps up into the cloud space to take advantage of the unique nature of cloud computing. Everybody is trying to figure those things out. And I was a fairly outsized voice in the cloud community for my years at Indiana, but the reality is Indiana is way behind in cloud. I mean, crazy. I was pushing that boulder up the hill for years, and I'm happy to see now that I'm gone that they're really starting to take off there. But don't think you're too far back on the curve to take advantage of this. So this year, the planning committee really wanted to find a way to broaden the base. We've been hearing in past years and early years about, well, this is just a big school event, despite the things I just said. So we're trying to be more explicit in our messaging. It's not just a big school event. Small schools, schools that are starting on their cloud journey, anticipating their cloud journey, that is, even just cloud curious, that's a place to be. So we proposed this idea of a travel scholarship program, because first of all, Cloud Forum is free to attend. It is 2.5 days. Most meals are provided. You do have to cover your own travel. So in order to make this more accessible to more schools, we propose this idea of a travel scholarship program. So I'll talk more about that here. There are, I'll talk specifically about the scholarship and that idea in a moment, but what we want from people that are considering applying to participate in the scholarship program is involvement. So Sarah mentioned the different formats we have at the Cloud Forum: presentations, lightning talks, panels, research workshop, or the research presentations, workshop, and we also have an unconference. Those ones I have bold there, the panels, workshop, unconference, those are ones that there's still opportunities to get involved in. The presentations and things, call for proposals closed, the schedule's actually even posted, and I'll have links here in the slides. But we do have 2 panels and a workshop going on this year that we would love to have members of this group who attend participate in. So one is a panel on the challenge of federal cloud funding. Another is establishing a higher ed cloud mentorship program, something that's really near and dear to me and kind of at the core of this building higher ed community. And then the workshop this year is a half-day workshop on cultivating a cloud culture in your organization. So those are all opportunities where schools in this group, if you choose to attend, could participate in still. So the scholarship program, we've got a link here to an application form. We're going to ask you kind of what your cloud vision is, what's your current status, do you have faculty trying to teach cloud skills in the classroom, researchers trying to use cloud? Are you doing anything? Are you in the contemplation phase? Are you in the, oh, that's just a pipe dream phase? Let us know. And are you willing to be involved? Are you willing to put in some sweat equity, if you will, by participating in some of those panels or the workshop? So those are the basics of the Cloud Forum, the basics of the Travel Scholarship Program. Again, these slides will be available, so if you don't capture this link now, you'll have that. And then also, I just wanted to add, whether you go to the Cloud Forum or not, there are ways to get involved in the cloud community. So we have here the Cloud Forum this year. There's the Internet to Technology Exchange has a cloud track this year. We're also doing a hands-on AWS game day the day before. I think registration information goes out tomorrow about TechX. And game day is a fun way to do some hands-on play in AWS. It's going to be $35 to participate, $10 for students. So if you do plan on coming to Technology Exchange, come a day early and join a team or bring your own team to play in game day. And then the higher ed cloud community, this is a going concern year round. There are monthly calls. They just had the July call yesterday. You can find out information about the EDUCAUSE Cloud Computing Community Group. We post stuff there about Internet 2 focused events, and you can find it all at this URL below here, the edu-cloud-community. So Lawrence, I'm going to hand it back to you, or we'll just open up for questions. And if there are none, we're done, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we want to open up to questions about the Cloud Forum. I think this is a very beneficial organization and opportunity for all MSCC participants. So please, if there are any questions, please share. And we'll post the slides in the MSCC Slack channel. So you'll have access to the slides that you could go through and then again, ask questions, and we'll make sure that we get you the answers to your questions.
This is Michael Hurd from the University of Oklahoma. Are most of your conversations centered around technical issues, or most of your conversations centered around financial issues associated with taking advantage of the services offered by cloud vendors?
That is a great question, Michael. And in fact, this year we had the unique challenge of really spelling that out, because the Cloud Forum and the Technology Exchange are so in such close proximity in the calendar. I'll drop a link here in the chat in a moment, but we put out a blog post that articulated, because the calls for proposals for both events were very close to each other. TechX is really more the hands-on technical stuff. Cloud Forum has always been a kind of a strategic thought leadership event. So where people talk about how they're wrestling at a higher level with cloud decisions and challenges, and less about the specific technology. Now, there will be the occasional presentation where somebody says, here's how we implemented this thing, and you might see an architectural diagram in there, but it's at a high level and not really the type of thing where your developers or tech people are focused.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I would say there are a wide variety of areas covered. So like cost management is certainly a topic that is covered frequently.
I think cost management and how to make the case. I think we always have some discussion about, how, if you're an institution who's just starting to think about cloud, how do you make the case to your executive leadership? How do you have the conversation about moving from CapEx to OpEx? And so that's a conversation that we've had a lot too. Those are the types of conversations we have.
Another question. So does the forum provide the opportunity to talk about whether the cloud is a good fit for researchers or whether it's a good fit for the enterprise? Because I know that's always a constant conversation here.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you can kind of get a feel for where the conversation is drifting from year to year. Last year, we had a very research-heavy Cloud Forum. A number of the topics were about research and managing research. It's not like that every year. But certainly the ability is there to talk about it. The themes are largely driven by the presentations being given, but the hallway conversations and the breakfast, lunch, and dinner conversations will, you can take anywhere, and people certainly do have a research front of mind, research support.
I would say it's definitely, the conversation is very open. So like there isn't an assumption that every conversation is going to end with move that thing to the cloud, right? There are certainly conversations about, well, what is appropriate? Or we tried this and we discovered that this works great in the cloud, or we tried that and we discovered it does not work great in the cloud. So
you're hitting on something that I'd like to extend this in a little different way. You were talking about the hall conversations and things like that. So, with our minority institutions, our HBCUs, our tribal colleges, under-resourced, right? So if you're talking to a group of faculty and faculty are interested in their curriculum and the courses that they're teaching, one of the things we're always doing amongst our institutions is talking about what we can do to equalize the playing field. Okay. And so I know you hit on most of these things, the answer to this, but if you were talking to a group of faculty and how would you approach that? What would be your elevator speech to them to tell them, this is going to help us equalize the playing field?
I could jump in with just one thought there, and I admittedly have a tendency to lean toward the technical a bit more, not just because it's the area that I work, but I would focus on some of those like selling the cloud things that Sarah was talking about, specifically how there are a number of services that are designed to be low on-ramp things, even free tier things, and kind of focus on those ways in which you can adopt cloud services for very little or no money at all. Understanding, kind of the under-resourcedness of this population.
Especially when we start talking about the curriculum and we start talking about hands-on, which is what we do, in most of our computer information science courses. And of course, our big problem here is to build up this amongst our minority institutions is to build up the cyber infrastructure first. Okay. And I was very interested to hear about Indiana. I've worked with Jeffrey Fox and James Glazier over there, and I know they're big data users and cloud computing users. So anyway, very good. Thank you.
So Richard, you hit on something that there is often a disconnect between individual faculty and what the institution is doing. In fact, It was very strongly my experience, not just at Indiana, but across the community, that faculty research is what was dragging higher ed into the cloud, because a lot of institutional IT was dragging its feet.
Exactly.
I want to address, Bobby had a great question in the chat, and thank you for asking this, because as I mentioned, one of the key values of the Cloud Forum is the kind of the intimate nature of the conversation. To use the phrase of the day, it is a safe space. Plenty of people come and present about their failures. It is, in fact, makes some of the best presentations because everyone can relate. So it is thankfully not as tricky as you would think. People love to do it.
But yeah, I appreciate your point about the faculty researchers, because none of this takes place at our institutions unless the faculty speak up and say that they need this, and that I've seen everywhere that I've been. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Joel, you have a question.
Yes, just a simple question. First of all, thank you for this presentation. And by the way, I appreciate the early one on mentoring. But the Cloud Consortium is it's a consortium model, which is great. MSCC is a consortium. And I'm wondering whether you've had experience with partnerships with other consortia, and whether you've had MOUs or other ways that one thing is people in MSCC individually may want to join your forum, which would be great, and more the merrier. But it may also be that there's a consortium to consortium conversation, and I'm wondering what your experience has been with that.
Sarah, do you want to comment on that? I have a thought on the larger community level, but from a Cloud Forum perspective.
Yes, like historically, we have not necessarily had any sort of consortium to consortium relationships. I mean, the Internet 2 has been very involved. But I would say that would probably be the extent of that. But I love the idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I think there's a huge opportunity there.
And if I might, and some of the people in MSCC knows that this is sort of my favorite thing, which is that we've been counting multi-stakeholder consortia in research, data, and computing. And there maybe are 22 or 23 from 1950 to 2000, and we count over 100 in the last 20 years. And it's because there are issues that require people to accomplish together what they can't do separately, exactly what you described. And so institutionally, it raises the question, if the ecosystem has more and more consortia, how does everyone, play in all these sandboxes?
And I'll just add that I don't know, the cloud forum is such an organic beast that I don't know that we would view it as a consortium. And the cloud community has grown in the past, I don't know, 7 years from a weekly phone call with about 7 or 8 people on it to now through the EDUCAUSE Cloud Computing Community Group, a community of over, there's well north of 1,300 people subscribed there. So it really is where the higher ed cloud conversation takes place. And you can post about anything, and it's so it's kind of a big tent sort of thing.
No, and that's exciting and not surprising. And there is a dynamic over time in which consortia or forums, people use different names, partnerships, collaboratives, of one kind or another, increasingly formalize and sometimes unformalize based on need and circumstance. MSCC, for example, is evolving towards having full-time professional staff, which initially it was just all volunteer. And that's, not surprising because the work itself requires it. So, I see, if you haven't had those kinds of conversations in the past, it may be that there's merit to having them in the future. What I think is interesting is to sort of say, how do you collectively shape all of these institutional arrangements to best meet your needs?
Well put. Bobby, you had your hand up. Was it about the question in the chat, or did you have another?
No, I think you're covering it pretty well, and my internet connection is a little unstable, so I'm going to let you guys continue, but I think you answered my questions.
All right. Well, I want to hand it back to Lawrence unless there are any final questions, because I know he had some business to get to before the hour's up. Thank you all for your attention and your great questions and discussion.
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Bob and team, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us about the Cloud Forum. I do want to stress to everybody that we will be sharing the slides. We'll send it out in an email and in the Slack channel. We'll also be continuing this discussion in the Slack channel. So I know that there's a lot of interest in the Cloud Forum. We posted a link to an application for the Cloud Forum in the chat here. We'll also repost that in the Slack channel. So don't feel like for any of our presentations that this is the end of it and you have to wait a month to continue the discussion. We are open. The Slack channel is made, specifically for that. So as we post the slides, if you're just reviewing it and you have a question, feel free to drop it in Slack and we'll respond and we'll get you the information you need. Or maybe we can even have a discussion in a little more detail about some of the pros and cons of moving to the cloud, or if you have some questions about cloud strategy, we can help you find answers to that as well. So I wanted to go over a couple things. I know we only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to share some information about the current status of the current activities for the MSCC. Before I do that, I wanted to ask Anna, our PI, if she had any information that she wanted to share before we get to the top of the hour.
Not today, Lawrence. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. So just some quick updates. I'm excited to share with everyone that the MSCC has been selected to participate in the HBCU week with the the White House initiative of the HBCU week. So we will be doing a virtual presentation, and we'll also be on site at the White House during the week of September. So that's a huge honor. It's great to be included in this workshop. So we're excited about that. More information will follow. We'll definitely share the presentation. But if you're interested in what we're doing with that, please let us know. We'll send out some links and we'll share for everybody the what we're doing when it comes to that. And that just goes to show that the MSCC is growing. We think of the MSCC as the collaboration, the collaborative tissue, right? The connecting tissue to organizations, opportunities for both students, faculty, and even access to resources. So please continue to participate with the MSCC, and I would encourage everybody to bring along a friend, right? Because we have all sorts of resources and we want to continue to grow. Also want to do a quick update on our cybersecurity workshop series. We're getting ready to do our second workshop. This time it'll be at a TCU at Salish Kootenai, 17 and 18 August. So it's coming up quickly. Again, we're for all minority serving institutions. We're excited about this workshop. This workshop will be a little bit different than what we had at North Carolina. We have 4 other workshops scheduled. So if you're interested in seeing what we're doing when it comes to workshop, please reach out. We'll share slides, we'll share information. Again, we want to make sure that people know what we're doing and we're helping all members of our minority serving institution. I know we have about 2 minutes left. I can take a couple questions before we close out today's meeting. I do see a question that said, who will be in attendance? So we will have representatives from the MSCC in attendance to the HBCU workshop. It'll be myself, of course, Anna. I think Emily and Lanika will be on hand for support during that week. The presentation, I will be the only one presenting, but there will be support there on hand. Any other questions about anything? I know we've covered a lot in an hour. We're trying to make good use and respect everyone's time. All right, I don't see any other questions. Please feel free to follow us in the Slack channel if you're not already a member. Emily has put her email in the chat, so we'll see us post some slides here shortly. If you don't, if you're not a member, please reach out to us so we can get you added. And if there are no other questions, that's all we have for today. Again, thank you everyone for attending. Look forward to seeing you soon.